Hello, hello, hello. Hey, Dave. Commenting just as I go live. Nice. Love it, buddy. How are you doing today? It's a little bit earlier in the morning for you, huh? Okay, let's get into it. Okay, I guess you can kind of see me there. There we go. That's a little better. Let's get the lights down. Thank you guys for hanging out. Lights. It's a little better. See the colors? Let's see a better volume here. Okay. So far, so good. Let me know if it probably needs to come up a little. Hitting a little clipping there, don't want to do that. Alright, there's that. Let's get the other one. And that gives you a little better view of everything. There we go. Hey everybody. Alright. We got some... Well, happy birthday, Dave. Alright, buddy. Vertigo, welcome. Chris, welcome. Yeah, happy birthday. Yeah. Sebastian, hey. And Shikanane. I think so. Right. All right, we'll get in here. If you see me ever just lean over that way, it's just to look at some of those comments we got going. I guess I might be able to pull that up on here too, so I could see the comments a little better. Let's get into what's going on. How's everybody doing today? And also, I kind of wanted to know. Let's get this here. I'm trying to find my. I'm not updating yet. Where's my episode 3? Alright. It's not going to play nice on here. So we'll just keep it going. We'll get into this and take a look at a few more things on the TR. If you guys do have any questions, please post them up. I'd love to hear them and see if I can get you guys some answers on some of this stuff. Okay, let's see. I'm still trying to get this episode 3 to load. Maybe I just can't watch it like you guys can. Let's see if I could do this. Okay, this works. There we go. I'm learning how to use this thing. Right. Open on the app. So I've been... Oh, it wants an update. I see. Okay. I haven't been doing a whole lot off camera with you guys, just kind of going over refining the pattern I made and just, you know, kind of reconfirming everything I'm doing so I can kind of build that muscle memory of where things are and how to sequence and manage and, you know, slice things up. But I haven't really done a whole lot of progressing further with it. So far we just have a little pattern that I've been making, and let's see if we can get it here. Yeah, it's just not going to want to show me that, so I'll try and get the comments better over there. Okay, so I just been making a few different variations, going through and talking about how each variation behaves. So looking at this, I just kind of made, you know, the little intersection on A, right? And I have a couple things like on my rim shot. I have a sound here, and it's just a voice effect. Okay, and just for the sake of it, if we go ahead and play it, it's just this one right here, right? You can hear just that. But what I have is I have it set for 8 of 8 cycles. So only on the 8th cycle does it do it. So it's kind of gives me that indication that 8 measures have happened. So doing that, and then this one I was kind of trying to get rid of some of these extra claps and stuff in here, but we could work on that a bit later. A lot of the layer tracks, I always like to try and keep this as my mix knob. So on my kick I have these green ones, which is an 808, and oh, sorry, the green one's the 808, the blue is just the 909 kick, the red is both of them. So I got the kick on the 4/4 with some extra 808 stuff in there, so when I bring them together, if I just want the 909 on the quarter notes, so that's just the 909, and then I can add in a little syncopated extra stuff with the just added maracas over here instead of a hi-hat. It's like the softer sound to it, and then an extra hi-hat on this on the upbeats. So just been slowly progressing stuff through and playing with it, and then this adds in some extra loops and stuff that we've been throwing in there and kind of playing with in the past couple episodes. This one has a nice little, so I should also ask what's going on with these, or not ask, but tell you with the hand clap. Has just this loop. Okay, plays for this long. But what I did with it is, if I go over to the filter, right, you can see the filter, I have a low pass filter on it with some high resonance on it, and I have it just kind of cut right in the middle. But what I've done was shift and filter get you into the modulation, which is your LFO essentially. And I've selected a wave or a triangle LFO with a 4-second timing. You could change your timing, which is kind of cool, between what kind of sync time you want with your LFO, either just a time base where you get to set anywhere from, I think it's 100 milliseconds, which is really fast, to 10-second LFO, and anything in between if you're working with time. If you switch it over to step, you could set the steps just like the TR-800 was, where it would, we loading yet? No, we're not loading yet. So the TR-800 it would do by steps, so you can kind of, the length of the cycle of your LFO would be determined by step length. In this one it goes from a quarter step to 64 steps. So it goes up to 4 measures or 4 cycles using the step mode. Then there's note mode, which gets you kind of in a quantized beat divisions. So the longest you can go is just a 1 measure. Okay, 1/1 or 1 cycle or whatever you want to call it, but 1 variation length, right, is the longest in the note sync. And then it goes, you know, half dotteds, single measure triplets, half measure, quarter, I should say quarter notes, so that's whole note, sorry, half note, quarter note, eighths, all the way down to 30 seconds. So there's 3 different ways to set your speed of your LFOs, which is really nice. It really helps you get kind of a customized way of doing it, right? I like the time just because I could kind of adjust and it gets a little more free running style to it. Yes, Quest, this will be up later for viewing. 50, Dave, I just turned 50 a few weeks ago, about a month ago actually. Feels good, doesn't it? I feel good. I don't know about you. So that's what I've been doing with the modulation, or this LFO. And then there's a couple pages. Always know there's usually a couple, at least 2 pages for any kind of screen you're on. I don't like to call it menus too much because menus seem kind of list-like and boring. This gives you a lot of info at once, so I'm just going to call them screens. But if I use my arrows to cycle between my screens, once I choose my waveform, the type, and all that kind of stuff, we could go through. There's sine wave, there's a triangle, saw wave, square wave, and a sample and hold. All the same stuff that they had in the 8S, and a lot of basic drum machines are going to have just those shapes. If you're going for any more advanced shapes like saw down, you know, cosines or other modified ones, that's going to have to come probably, you know, some kind of external control of that or something. But these are the waveforms you get. It'd be cool if, you know, in firmware upgrades they gave us maybe a couple more that were a little more unique. But I'm totally happy with what's going on here. So if you go to the right, you see there's 2 targets you can set already. Right now I have it set for the filter cutoff. So it's just taking that filter cutoff and moving it open and then back to its position because I'm setting a depth amount, how far I want it to move, right? And since it's just a triangle wave, it's just going to go up to that depth and back, right? The sine wave would actually go in a negative value, go back and forth. So what it would be doing is taking that filter and actually moving it both ways. But right now it just moves it open and then back to here, open and back to here. So that's what the triangle is going to be doing. I did set the phase off just 45 degrees so it's not starting kind of right in the beginning of the sound, so the sound gets to stay open or closed for just a second where it's at, and then it starts moving through open and closed through the length of the loop. So the phasing is kind of cool to do too, so knock the phase out a little. So like I was showing, cutoff is one of them, the filter cutoff. My reverb send is another, so every time the LFO goes up and it opens the filter more, it gives it more reverb or sends more to the reverb, but not all the way. Then the arrow again, I also have it set to the, it's not messing with it, but the coarse tuning of the effects, because the effect is a pitch delay. Okay, so my pitch delay on here, I can mess with the tuning, coarse tuning, right? All the way up. I know it's given in percentages, so it gives it a little different feel because coarse tuning is generally done by semitones, right? Instead of doing it by these percentages. So it'll take a little fiddling when you're doing it with an LFO. But now if we play this, you can also hear kind of the pitch playing around. The pitch goes higher as the filter opens. Because of this. So if I crank this up, right, it's taking that pitch delay, and all the delays that are happening on that pitch delay are pitching way higher. And go down, right? But say you didn't want this on course, let's just put it back to 0, just because I don't like, this is, fun thing about these knobs is as you go slow, it's great. It goes by these nice little increments, but you can go fast and get, you know, 70% pretty far pretty quick. See, it almost takes like patience, right? Because you want to get there, so you start scrolling a little faster, and then it goes past where you want to go. But let's say here we didn't want to do the coarse tuning of the effects. We can just turn our knobs here, And I noticed that this knob, the C1, seems to jump through the different categories. Like first we have nothing, goes to generator, your generator, something to do with the sound, then to filter, then to amp envelope, then to the compressor, then to your effects, and then to your mix stuff. The second one lets you go individually through each and everything. So you could use this to move quicker, right? Get to something like, say, the amp envelope. This is being a loop, it wouldn't be great for it, but we'll just do the, well, we can have fun on here. The generator, instead of the coarse tuning of the actual loop, let's bring it down and play with the rate. Right, so the rate's gonna change, so I can make it slow down as the filter opens. So let's listen to that. So it almost pitches down, but it's actually, so with it moving, it's actually taking it, slowing it down, and then almost going backwards with it. If I make this longer, right, so you get that weird warbly sound. So that's if you're looking to do something like rate, right, or whatever you want to do. Okay, so let's try, instead of rate, let's do the filter resonance. Yeah. We'll just move it up a little bit because too much resonance can be, so it just gets a little more of a ring as it opens the filter up more, right? So as it's sliding that filter open, it's increasing the amount of resonance. So I can bring it down. So you can really hear it playing now, right? So if you want to play with something like that kind of stuff, sometimes it just takes just a little bit. It doesn't take much to really mess with it, yeah. Definitely yeah, coping with the age. Don't worry about it, bud. And Victor, how you doing, bud? How are you? I know there were some people that wanted me to tag them in the live post, and I don't know if we should. I don't know how far I could do that. Let's see. I just want my... I don't know why it doesn't want to bring up my episode 3 yet. Maybe it's because it's still going live or something. I'm not sure. I'm not going to mess around too much with it, but I do want to... Happy birthday to me. All right. Let me get in that. Thanks for just hanging out and doing this with me. So let's see here. It's here. I just want to get the... It's here. I just want to... You can hear me. Okay. It's just not letting me get the comments up on the... when I click the link. Okay, here we go. Live chat. Letting me get the... And I'm not going to... Comments up on the... when I click the link. Okay. Okay, there we go. So we can't hear myself over. All right, now I could see this. All right, coping with age. I love it. So this is kind of the fun you can have with the LFO, and it doesn't always have to be LFOing the filter. You have all those things that we were talking about. And talking about LFOs, let's just jump over to our kit edit real quick, okay? And that's shift. This is the biggest thing you're going to have to get used to if you're coming from the TR-8S, is that shift was up here by song before, and now it's down here on the bottom, which makes sense because it keeps a lot of stuff you're doing down here, so you're not reaching up. And this is kind of these master controls up here, and this is all your sub stuff that you're doing when you're programming and sequencing and whatnot. Okay, so Shift and Kit. Okay, this one has, I think, 12 pages. There's a lot of pages in this one, but that's how it is with kits, right? You have a lot of parameters and a lot of things you can change, such as the kit's overall gain. If you want to do any clipping, soft, limiting, okay, we can. That soft clip will give you a little bit of saturation, a little more harmonics as it gets turned up there and pushes towards the maximum. You can name your kits, of course, by just hitting enter, and it goes through this naming process. Something I found useful here, because I was scrolling through and using these top C3 to scroll, and then the bottom to go through, you know, the next one. But notice that when I'm on D, as soon as I move off of D to go to the next letter, it goes back to the beginning. But I found if I use the arrow key and just keep my C6, my finger right by C6, if I go to the arrow key, it stays at the same place and I can just go from there, right? We're going to call this Kit Dave. In memory of Dave. It's birthday. Dave. Dave. All right. There we go, Dave. So there is no shuffle button, take this, take that. I'll show you where you do get your shuffling. So also in the kit, you got your external in. Whatever you're managing with the parameters, it's always right in the bottom middle of what section. So this is all the external in stuff. Okay. This is all your delay, or reverb. This is my reverb mod. If I hit enter, you can see you get to choose which reverb type. I just have the modulated reverb. And you got the level, time, all your cuts and pre-delays. Then over here's the second part of it, because then there's the modulation amount, the density. You could sidechain even the reverb. So anything hitting reverb, if you want just the reverb, will get sidechained, which is kind of cool. So the natural sound would stay as is, and the sitting up here, and the reverb that comes off the tail end of your sounds, if it's lasting for a while, it will be sidechained by whatever your sidechain source is. So kind of an extra cool thing there. Moving to the next, this is the delay parameters, right? Depending on the delay, you'll have extra settings, like your tape echo and stuff is going to have a bit more. All your dampeners and your high cut and all that kind of stuff. You guys familiar with what the dampening is? So dampening, if you're not, I might as well just give it an explanation. What you're doing is, because these are decibel levels, if you notice the low dampening, high dampening, and then there's the frequencies for each. But you take this frequency range, say the 80 hertz for the low, and because I have this, I could tank it all the way to 0, and what will happen is any low frequencies at or below 80 hertz will keep feeding back at the same volume through the delay. That's what a delay is, right? It's taking a sound, sends it through, and then brings it back into the intro, beginning, and then plays it through again. That's how you're getting like your echoes or your delays. You send a sound through, and then it feeds it back through again. The dampener is going to reduce by decibels this frequency range as it comes back in, so it doesn't come back in at full volume every time, which can create a lot of buildup, or you can get really boomy, muddy stuff if you have the lows coming through too much and feeding back too much. And it becomes really shrill if you have the highs. So you can find and reduce the amount of low and high that keeps getting fed back, so it doesn't come back as such a loud volume, which gives you a smoother sounding delay. Okay. This is more delay stuff. Again, you could sidechain your delays. You could send your delay to reverb, and you can route your delay either to the master output or just through the analog effects and then out the analog output. And it won't go out the mix out. Okay, or through, and it doesn't touch any of those. It doesn't go through the master effects. It doesn't go through the analog effects. If you set it to master, it's going to go master effects, then analog. If you want to just skip over the master effects, you choose analog, then the delay will just go into the analog and it won't be affected by the master effects here. Or if you don't want your delays to be affected by anything up here through. Okay. Next page. You have an LFO. This LFO is for your effects. Okay, so let's look at what we got here. We got, I don't want to adjust, right? We're going to go through just each one. So you got reverb and all the reverb stuff, all your delay settings that you can LFO, your analog effects setting, turning the analog effects on or off, the cutoff of the analog filter, right? The resonance of it, the drive and offset for the for your overdrive, your drive, analog drive. And then your external input, reverb sends, delay sends, sidechain depth. And then for the sidechain, we'll get into this because there's sidechain settings that you can customize your sidechain. So there's a curve to it. There's a release to it. How quick does it release, right? The sidechaining, the curve that it does, is it just a straight linear kind of ducking sound, or do you get kind of a little swoop to it? The master depth for the sidechain, so you can set a master depth. So all the other depths, even if you crank them all the way, if you have that master depth set lower so it's not doing a full almost kill on the sound every time it sidechains, you can make sure that the master depth in your sidechain is down so it does not duck any further than what the master depth is set to. That way you don't have to worry about cranking up all the other ones. Okay. The hold step, how long you want it to hold. If you go into these step hold modes of the sidechain, it can hold the ducking or hold the gating for a certain amount of steps before it lets go and reverts back to normal. So those are all your different settings. Really cool that you get to use an LFO, and you can target 1, 2, 3 different places with this LFO in the kits. Okay. Yeah, Dave, the MC707 has the ability to, I should bring my keyboard over here or something, or at least the pad. Can I put this on? It's going to fit here. It's quite funny, right below my TR I have a Octatrack that hasn't been turned on for months. So see this, I can show this, check this out. All right. The MC707 has the ability to change instruments via velocity threshold. Is that possible on the TR-1000? Great question, and one of my favorite things about the 707 is on those drum tracks and on the tone tracks, you can go in and designate velocity ranges and even key ranges, but velocity ranges is the important part for each layer of a drum, sound, and each partial in a tone track. So those both can be modified in a 707, and that's part of the groove box part. It doesn't do it in the TR-1000. It doesn't allow you to split by velocity. Now, these layer tracks, they just let you split by sequencing each one separately if you'd like to. Okay, so you can, in a sense, separate 2 sounds on a track by sequencing them separately and modifying their parameters separately. So you can absolutely do that, but you can't say I want, each layer to be different based on the velocity that is applied. So if I have a low velocity, only layer A plays and higher velocity layer B, or having a sound completely change out based off of velocity. They haven't gone that far. I think that's more of a groove box kind of thing than just the drum machine. It might be a bit, a bit much, because this thing's pretty deep, and if you start going that deep, I think you lose the immediacy of this, because even with the layer tracks, everything's trying to get you to play and move and manipulate right away, right? So, but great question. Unfortunately, it's not in this one. And then the next one is, this is always a great question here. Okay, Alwyn says, can you play the Synthy sound engines chromatically with a MIDI keyboard to record melodic bass lines, for example? I know everybody wants this. They've been asking for it since the TR-8S. It doesn't do it like that. Now, the reason is each track responds to a MIDI note, but not the tuning of the MIDI note. Now, the only thing, I don't think it's possible because you can't use a keyboard to separate different CC values, because these are going to respond to a CC message, your knobs, if you're going to do something external. So an external slider or knob will make this move, right? So you'd be able to do something like that, but keys, unless you have some kind of controller that allows you to set each key on the keyboard to be a different CC value or control change value, then you're not able to chromatically play from an external instrument. Now, what you can do, all right, let's just say, for example, we have, what do we have here? So we're going to keep this minimal. Okay, everyone can hear okay? Looks like it's pumping pretty loud there. Okay. Let me know if it's ever clipping or being too loud for you guys. So, okay. Yeah, we have 8 side chains on this. Oh, we have 8 side chains on the TR-1000, which is great. Yeah, it's giving you different types, and there's different types in here too. We'll look at that in just a moment. But, and we'll come back to the kit settings, because that's where you're going to find your different side chains and what it can do. Okay, this gives you more than 8. Okay, because those 8 are preset values. Slow attack, quick release, quick attack, slow release. 2 of them are gates instead of ducking, but they're set parameters. This allows you to customize the parameter exactly. Plus you get to change the curve. So you can have a slow attack, but then make that slow attack, instead of being a linear line going up, you kind of make it curved into a exponential, or up like a logarithmic one. So you're getting more tweakability of your sidechain than you do just 8 preset sidechains. And I do love the 8 on the 8S number. I like number 2 more than 1, and I really like number 4's gating effect. So good stuff. But we'll get to that stuff in just a second. So I want to show you on this track, low tom, I have 2 sounds. I have an organ bass sound, right? I go to Instaplay and we can play it. So it's on our low tom. It's going to play both always together, unless I hold the one. So I could hold A and you hear just the bass line, right? If I hold B, that's going to be my E piano for some reason. Oh, sounds a bit gnarly on it. It's not the effect, is oh, maybe the fattener got changed. Yeah, there's some sound going on in there. Anyway, to get to the point, I want to do, say, my bass line, right? Okay, so if I want to do the bass line, let's see if I could do it on this one, on the split. Because what essentially I want to do, yeah, I could do this. As long as you knob assign, okay, knob assign, let's just do this one right here, is set to coarse tuning just my A layer, and this one's set to coarse tuning just my B layer. Okay, so if I have my coarse tuning for my B layer there, and you can see this is my amp envelope decay, right, for both sides. So when I turn this, both sides decay is adjusted, right? But the one I want to focus on is my tune knob here for my coarse tuning. Okay, so if that's set, then I could just go back to my generator. I hold inst play and I press this last button, snapshot. Okay, this is going to allow you to set up snapshots for each track. So if I want to set it up for this one, I hold the snapshot. You can hear it. But I want to, this is going to be interesting because it's going to play both Not necessarily. Let's see if we can make it happen. If I turn my tune knob to what I want, you hear it happening, right? What I'm going to do just for the moment is turn there you go. Yeah, this we'll turn the fattener off because it's getting this little. There we go. So there's our bass line, right? So say I set it to -7 to an F. That's now an F. Then I can come over here, turn it to -5G. -4 is a G sharp. -2 is A sharp. 0 is C. 1 is C sharp. 3 is a D sharp. And then 5 is F. So now I have an F major scale. Oh. 7. So I could do that. Okay, I can't do it externally with a keyboard, but I can fairly quickly, if I know what I want to do, is put a scale right here, and then I could come over here and do a completely different scale. If I wanted to do like just a C major scale, I could start C, D, E, F, G, A, B, 10, there, and then I have 9. Right? Then I have a C major, so I have an F major and a C major scale split, because each scale generally has 8 or less notes in it, right? Pentatonics have 5, blues have 5, I think. So let me get this. So Alwyn, that's Alwyn. I hope I'm saying that right. I hope that's helpful. While we still can't play it with a keyboard, who knows what'll happen in the future. But for now, this is what they're allowing us to do, and it really helps keep you focused, like right there on the machine. That way, you're not trying to bring external stuff in to play with it. They want you to kind of focus on this, I guess. So, and what I could do now is, if things are, let's quickly over the TR rec. I want to get rid of any sounds, right? So I'm going to see if I can do this. I'm going to take this and just make it green. These are green just to be. Why are we not getting that one? That is really loud, sorry. Alright, so now we got just that electric piano, because the green steps are just B layer. And blue steps would be just the A layer. Okay, one thing, scene artisan, I'll get right to that. Yeah, Isham, it's a drum machine, not a groove box. So, if I want to, I go to Inst Play, and now I'm in these play modes, right? And I have to hold Inst Play and hit either snapshot slice, 16 velocity, or instant play, or instrument play, but snapshot is where we want. So I'm hoping this works. I want to hold A and see if I can just trigger A's bass line. Okay. So let's see how that did. It did. So it gave me those just blue by holding just A. So I could, if I want to, the red's going to give me both, but I am going to have to reset this because you'll notice it is a negative, oh, it still kept it with the -7 on that tune, but it's a +5 on my E piano, electric piano tuning. So it's a really cool feature that even though I hold a step, it does have both layers on there. But if I set my knobs to control different things for each one, like my tune and my control 1 right here, tune and control 1, both control the coarse tuning of each instrument. So that allows me to tune each one differently to a different melody. If I was trying to, they're going to hit in the same place with the reds. But you can see the blue is just hitting on here. If I want to just have an E piano right there. I liked it here too. So I'm going to. This one is -2, -2. So these both hit at the same note. I could change this one to like a +10. Right? Same note, octave up. Right, so now I've essentially created a baseline. If I wanted to come back to the low tom, each instrument can have their own set of snapshots, which is really brilliant, because then you don't feel like you just wasted this. It'd be cool if I could just keep this and go to each one and still have the same scale. Doesn't work like that, so you have to do it with each instrument. And it saves it to the pattern. Okay, because this is happening down on the sequencing and doing with motion recording and all that business. Remember, motion record has to be on, otherwise you don't hear it. You hear it after, because a snapshot's essentially laying down the trigger of the step and adjusting the tuning or the pitch of it. So it's basically doing a motion record for you as you instant record it in. You notice that the piano is playing at the same note. So if I wanted to, again, if I held this, I could go to here and make this one, you know, +5. Right? And I'd have to do, that's a -5, +5. So now it's a seven, 5. So if I go 5, I go to 7 here, right? Because I'm just essentially going up an octave. And this would be 8. 10. Right? Just so these would all be set the same. Am I doing that right? 5 is F, 6, 7 is G, 8 is G sharp, 9, 10, A sharp, 11, 12 is C, so this would be 12, 13, 14, 15. Wait, 15 doesn't make sense. So that's C sharp, D, or C sharp, D sharp if you want E flat, and then this one goes to 17. So now they both play together in the same scale. One's just an octave up. The bass is down, the piano's an octave up because I'm going above in the positives, right? So let's see what we got here. Yeah, the Scene Artisan. Got a good one here. One thing I learned from buying the MC7 is making music on new hardware is so complicated. Yeah, some of the stuff, especially the very advanced machines that they're coming out with, there's so much going on with them that they could be a bit overwhelming. I do Roland Cloud Academy classes on the 707, and I also offer private sessions if you want to just sit down together and really go over what your having difficulties with maybe with it. But yeah, it's a tough one to get your head around, but I'm more than happy to help. Just reach out to me and we could definitely set something up. Or every month there's a Cloud Academy class that we go over the whole thing and kind of help out with that. So, oh, and then you bought a Korg mini log. That's a great one too. Almost equally complicated, but not as much because the synth engine isn't quite as deep. But it's a fun instrument. So I feel for you, Scene. I do understand it. It is a tricky path to walk, right? You want to pick up some new stuff and really develop your sound by using some of these advanced pieces of equipment. And then you find that they've either made it really complicated to navigate, or there's just so much going on that you get lost sometimes on where something is. I get it. This is a little simpler than the 707, actually a lot simpler than the 707, but this still has some depth to it, right? So, so yeah, that's what's going on. Dr. JB, what up, boy? Is there a difference between sidechaining and variations? Yeah, sidechaining is just an effect that's happening. You can't do a different sidechain type in each variation because the sidechain itself is a kit level parameter or feature, and then just each track gets, or even each instrument, I'm sorry, gets an amount of sidechaining. Now, I don't want to say you can't, but let's take a look. We'll get into the TR-rec, and I'm going to get back to this kit in a moment, but I want to answer this question. There might be a way if we'll go to something like this one here, right? Or we'll go on this one. Okay, some music loop. If I go to knob assign, right now this is on tune. I don't really need tune, so I'm going to give this one a wiggle to make sure that that's the one I want. Then I could set it. The only thing I would go and check is right here. Okay, sidechain depth can be something that's on a knob, which means it can be motion recorded, which means I can say on D, this one, I want, there we go. I want sidechain. We'll call it 80% sidechaining. Okay, I could go to C, and if this was over here too, right, let's just put a step there. I'm gonna have to make it 1 of 2, I believe. Let me see what this one is. Yeah, 1 of 2. Because it's a 2 measure loop, I don't want it repeating only the first half every time it goes through. I want the loop to play through and then re-trigger on the third cycle through. But now with this one, I could say I want 0, right? So now there's no sidechaining on this one. And then go. So that one has some sidechain. You can kind of hear the little bit of pump to it, right? All those highs, wow, comes out. Wow. That should be duckery. Wow. That wow should duck, right? Right here. It ducks down a little. It's only 80%, so it's not going to do a major ducking. And here you'll see when you do these knob assignments, you can set your range. So if you don't want the knob to go all the way to 100% sidechain depth, then you take this and you set it down. Say, I only want it to max out at, say, 89%, 90%, whatever you want to do, instead of 100. That way, when you turn the knob all the way, it's only at a 90%. Okay, I did that with a couple other knobs in here we'll kind of take a look at because I didn't need so much range when I moved the knob. Okay. So, great question. Sidechaining is different than variations. Variations are basically just pattern measures, different patterns you can make within the pattern, or different variations of the pattern, or different sections of a pattern, right? And within those patterns, part of the sequencing comes the sidechaining, and you sidechain an instrument to another instrument. So, love this. So many questions and stuff. I love it. Plastic Dream song, yeah. Tone style bass line. And yeah, kind of like a Robert Miles. Yeah, there you go, like Robert Miles. It's got that nice sound to it. Yeah, he was, Robert Miles, I think, was that song "Children," right? Of course, that's what when that song came out. That's when the town where I live finally started liking techno trance, whatever you want to call it. But it was about that year, that time, and years before I've been trying to push it on everyone, not push it, but be playing it. And I was one of the maybe 4 people around that listened to electronic music. Everyone else is on reggae and island music. So when Robert Miles' Children came out, also there was the MTV video that came out with it and stuff. So I think that pushed it into the more popular realm for that age at that time. So still one of my favorite songs. Yeah, his brilliant albums. I gotta agree. You can't go wrong with Robert Miles. He knows how to play that piano. And Moses Synergy. Okay. Uh, yeah, a dub melodic children mix. I'll try and learn the piano line to children. I'm gonna have to look that up and try it. Not much of a key player, but thanks. Yeah, I will. So yeah, not a problem, Owen. That's at least good workaround and would work well with morphing. So morphing is, we'll talk about that in a moment. And yeah, some vibes going here. Forward Earth, I don't have this device. That's totally fine. What I want to do is show this to people who may not be familiar with drum machines and kind of go through it from a very starting introductory standpoint and start learning more and more things to see if it's something that you're interested in. I'm trying to make it a great way for you to make an educated decision about spending almost $3,000, right? Or if you're in other countries, over 3,000. Depending on where you're at, price is a little bit different, but it's an investment, right? So you're going to want to make a smart investment. So to be able to ask me questions and let me explore this thing to show you what you really want to know about it really can help. So that's why I'm enjoying the questions. Ask away. I want to be able to answer any question you guys have so you can, decide if this is something for you. Oh, how did he do his intro for Heaven Sent? I'm sure, I don't know what synth it was, but I'd like to look that up sometime. So you got me very curious on these things, scene artisan. So we'll look into that a lot. Yeah, a lot of programming. What's too much menu diving? Take this, take that. Yeah, and if Isham is saying because of the menu diving, the editor, I can open that up in a little bit too, so you guys can see how it can speed up processing, even as much as dragging and dropping samples right into spots on your tracks and populating them with your own samples pretty quickly. And it allows you a bigger visualization of an instrument or a track or whatever you're looking at, the kit, the pattern, the instrument itself. It gives you almost all the information at one time in the app, so you can really see everything working together. Okay. Can snapshots vary per A through H variation? No, because the snapshot is just set to a track. So if I'm on this track and I'm doing my snapshot, no matter what one I go to, right, it's always the same snapshots. So you're trying to think maybe you want to use different notes for each one to create different melodies. That takes some work. What I'd either do is split it. If you're not using a whole bunch of different, this is 16 different notes, right? Some of them overlap, but essentially this is just 8 notes of a scale. So if you're working in that scale, it shouldn't matter which variation you're in. You could just do a different melody staying within that scale. You don't have to keep doing the same notes over and over. You can do different notes in that scale, or have a complementary scale that it works along with your initial one that you could jump over to and play that as well in another variation. So, yeah, what's up, JB? Yeah, I'll show you the editor. The Roland MV1, the editor came out, yeah. So, Moses. Was that here? Oh, no. This one? Yeah. So it does have an editor. With the MV1, it can be frustrating playing in that thing if you need to do more expansion and stuff like that, because, again, it's a small screen. You're working with certain instruments. But the way they designed that VerseLab was they really want you to kind of utilize those presets, do a few minor tweaks to it, but they want you to focus on making a song. Yeah, you could use those presets with a bit of tweak, but they want you, okay, make your rhythm, make your melodies, sing your part, and you have a song. It's really the backpack producers and the singer-songwriters, it's made for that because it's portable. You can do scratch vocals. You can do all this kind of stuff with it. But then when you bring it into the studio, if you plug it into, say, the VerseLab editor, it's part of ZenBeats, then you can do a bit of manipulation. What I like about it there is you can really start tweaking the effects and get your mix down sounding really good, and get your, your compressors and your limiters and all that mix down effect stuff at the end. It's really good for that. Then I think once you kind of have that final product, you can, bounce it down to a WAV file on the machine, but also you can use, I just made a video on it too, you can use the VerseLab in the regular DAW way, and it will load all your tracks, including vocal track, using, just, it says load VerseLab stems, and it'll load it all, and then you can set it so when you hit play on the VerseLab, ZenBeats will start recording all the tracks at one time. So you can just let it play through in song mode, have your entire song tracked out. Then you can go back and either add more effects because you're in a DAW now, or if you wanted to add some more tracks in the DAW itself to kind of supplement what you've done on the VerseLab. So you can take it to the next level by plugging it into ZenBeats. It seems the most cohesive with ZenBeats. It'll work with any DAW, but they really made it with ZenBeats super simple to multi-track and record it and everything. So it is something that you can do, and yeah, you put it saved on your templates. That way the templates are great, because then every time you load a template, you're ready to go. Takes that workflow to the next level. So great question. So keep going down here. Just want to get these. How's the MIDI sync? You heard it has trouble in slave mode. I haven't slaved it to anything yet. I don't have anything going into the MIDI input. I can, maybe a further episode, I wanted to actually, people are starting to do it now with the old TR-808 and 909, but I was going to bring the TR-8S over, put it up next to it, and then play some 808s and 909s, A-B it, so you guys can hear the difference in what you get between the two machines. But I've heard some people having trouble by slaving this to something else. The only thing I do have is I do have a metronome like the Gnome 2 as my master clock for my studio. And I haven't yet ran a MIDI out from my Mio XL, which is kind of the MIDI hub, over to this. I need to get a little bit longer MIDI cord. Got one coming. And then I can plug it in and then hit my play on the metronome, and it'll fire off my 8S, the SP, the SH, all kinds of stuff. And if everything fires up and this stays in time, then I can't say I have any issue. But it's even stated in the manual that to set a different kind of MIDI sync, or to make it layer gens or whatever, it will reduce certain things. So, and I know in the 1.1 they tightened up the MIDI sync. So I think as it goes out, they're working on firmware now, I'm sure, because they put the product out now. The next thing the engineers do when they put a product out is they start looking at firmware updates, any bugs that people are reporting or that they've discovered. And also, if it's worth it, added features, because it seems, I don't know who else does it like this, but it seems Roland, and I've talked with a few others, when they do firmware updates, it's not generally always to add more features, because, and just hear me out on this, it's usually for bug fixes, and if they're going to be doing a firmware update to fix some things, then they might throw in some additional features or some things that people have been asking, things that are fairly straightforward and easy to do, because you got to think they only have so many engineers doing this stuff, right? And they need to be paid for their time and take away from whatever else they're doing to do the firmware upgrade. And when they do that and they release it, if they were to release it with just a ton of new features, they don't charge for it. It's a loss. You know what I mean? If you think of it from a company's perspective, they've paid all these people to do all this stuff and they've given it away for free to the people who've already bought the machine. So it's not enticing too many more people to go and buy it because a couple new features were added, maybe, depending on the features. But this is kind of the thought process I think a lot of these companies have. And some are more generous with their upgrades or updates or just new feature things. I think it's all just different modes, but that's what I think happens. So if we do get added features in it, I'm always grateful because they've taken that time to go ahead and add that in along with the bug fixes they're trying to do. And I haven't encountered any real bugs yet, except it's frozen on me twice. So we'll see if it happens today. If it keeps happening, then I've got something consistent happening, and it seems to be after an hour. That the last 2 times happened, and I could bring that up to Roland and show them the video, and they'll get working on that right away because they don't want it freezing. Okay, so that's the MIDI sync. Yeah, man, I'm glad to support everybody. I'm not a big scene artisan. I'm not a big music theory person either. Sorry here. Yeah, I don't understand music a whole lot. But yeah, that's all you need is a good ear for a tune. You don't need to know theory too much. Theory is going to give you rules that you're going to want to break. Right? Think of it as like guidelines. Things should be like this, but it's not necessary to be like that. Like a scale. A scale is supposed to be like that, but you can play outside the scale as long as those notes are complementary, and it depends on where you're going with it. If you're going in a scale and then you go outside of that scale and try and get back in, there are some notes that won't work and some that will. It's up to your ear to do it. I know the process can seem more tedious this way because you don't have the theory knowledge. You might not be a keys player. You know, you might not even be like a live drummer, like a real drum kit, drummer. Those guys, I'm sure once they understand drum machines, can program some crazy rhythms, right? Because they've got that mind of, okay, I know to put this here, put that there. We'll shuffle this a little bit. We'll do that. So I'm in the same boat as you. I work through exploration and what I like, and if I find a melody I like, I might try and research what notes were played in it, and then I'll try and bang away and recreate it to my best ability. But yeah, you could post the link to JD's Heaven Sent in the comments. That's totally fine. So having the ear for a tune, you'll know what sounds good and you'll start to create it. It's just building that muscle memory and the experience more and more. So don't be discouraged. It's really, I've gotten to where I'm at, and I'm still pursuing. I'm taking piano lessons because I want to learn keys more. But it's just up to you and what you want to focus on. If you want to look more at learning rhythms, you watch videos or watch things about drums and drum machines and programming different rhythms, or you start listening to that in songs a bit more. How's he working those toms, or what's that hi-hat pattern he's doing or she's doing or whatever, So don't be discouraged. Keep going for it, man. I promise you, it's all, as long as you're having fun, it should be good to do. If you're not having fun, take a break. Okay. And then yeah, Children came out when you're 18. Yeah, for the first time in a warehouse in '96. Yeah, what a track! I bet that blew your mind. Yeah, Heaven Sent, of course, is, you can really get it. Probably one of my favorite tracks is by Breeder called Twilo Thunder. It's an older track too. I can't remember the label it's on, but the group is Breeder, and the song was called Twilo Thunder. And it's just it's probably a 9 to 10 minute track, but it's one of those tracks that you want to keep playing because as it keeps going, it just keeps building and changing and evolving and just brings you up and up and up and up. It's super good. Anyway, okay, thanks for supporting, scene. And MIDI sync clock and notes are off or not syncing. Is that what you're getting with yours? Because that's what I've noticed some people getting, is the clock is a bit off. Okay. So, yeah, similar to photography. Once you know your terminology and your techniques and all the formulas you need, then it becomes kind of second nature. So that was on there. Let's shift back over to that kit because I just want to get past that part, and then we could go back to a few of the other things that we're talking about. I think I covered most of it. Yep. So yeah, we covered most of those questions. If anything else comes up, go ahead and, yeah, songs that take you on a journey are my favorite. So let's get back in here. We were on our LFO, right? So here was our LFO shape. Same thing we could do with it. It's right after our delay page on page 8. Shape, your targets, right? It seems, I don't know, everyone talks about menu diving, but what I find is that if you don't have a menu, then you're going to have way too many things going on the controls. So it's kind of a trade-off, right? What do you want? Do you want too many things happening here to where you're tweaking a single knob for every single function, or to have a menu to go through some things? And I feel it's better than a computer. A lot of computers, you're going through different things, different VSTs, they're going to have their menus, or you're going to have your things. There's a trade-off for most stuff, but if you're not, fond of menus, then pure analog machines or things that don't require a lot of depth are generally more suited for that kind of thing, because it's a one-to-one controls. You move your controls, that's what it is, right? So after your LFO, here's your sidechain, okay? You could source, which is kind of cool, because I could do bass drum A, B, or just bass drum A. So that's what I would do, because A is my 4 on the floor kick. B has all those little syncopated notes in between, right? These green ones in between, right? If I keep it to A, B, then even these are going to duck my sounds, sidechain. So it's not going to sound as rhythmic. It's going to have these other little ones coming in that might not sound proper. So choosing that source, I love this function, because at first I was like, man, my sidechain sounds like crap because it keeps ducking on these as well. But now you could go through and sidechain any source except for external input. Okay. Then from there you have a curve. I'm going to bring this out a bit more so we could do the hold step, and then there's like a release, right? So what happens is when it hits, it ducks, right? So as soon as it kicks, it ducks down to the bottom, right? And then you can have hold mode different, time, steps, right, are your two choices. If you want to hold for so many steps, ducking it down and holding it, or do a time for how long. You see the hold is here. As I move this, it ducks down and it holds for this long before it starts to climb back out of the ducking phase. So if we just want to duck immediately and then immediately start letting go, we could do that. And then you can adjust how quick it comes back, right? And then I'm going to stretch this out so you can see it's kind of a weird line, but I can sit here and do like this, so it could come back quicker and then kind of at the top slow off, or have it swoop up a little slower as it comes back out. So this is what I was saying, like, about this shape. You do get some fun stuff. Exponential. Boop. I thought logarithmic went there, in linear is just a straight line, right? Then you have polarity becoming a gate now. It'll let the sound through and then slowly bring it down to a mute. Same thing with the hold mode and the release and all that. So your polarity is, does it duck it or does it allow the sound through? Otherwise it's muted. The sound is muted until it gets triggered by your sidechain source. Okay? So same thing. You get a little more customization out of your sidechain than the 8 presets of the 8S. Okay, where are we here? Okay, there we're still there. If not, yeah, you post it up, no problem. Yeah, we'll look at the software in a second here too. Let me get through some of this stuff and we'll talk about it. I wanted to go through just a bit of sampling and then into the app. We did a little bit of the app work and just went over the general functions and looked at it in episode 2. But I'm more than happy to go back and look at episode 3 and show you guys a few other things and see if we could discover any more about it. Okay? So moving, there's only one more page. All right, last sidechain, last page. Nothing else is after this. Master depth. How far do you want it to actually duck? When you crank it up to 100%, this will be the 100%, right? Wherever you want this to be. So if you want that full ducking effect, make sure the master is at 100. Okay. So that's all the kit parameters that are in there. You don't generally get in there a whole lot, right? You kind of get in there one time as you're designing a kit to maybe set a few things like the LFO, if you're going to play with that up here and do any kind of modulation of your effects, then you get in there. But otherwise, you're not really jumping around in there. And the nice thing is like I was showing you, you could be, you know, on page 5, right? Or let's say you'd probably be on page 8 because you're going to be playing with the LFO. If you exit out of it and you're doing things, you need to get back into it, it's just as simple. You're right back there. You don't have to go searching through it again. It's always been something I like that Roland does, is when you go back into a menu, it's where you left it. Okay, so let's try some other things here. I think I got something on every one of them, unfortunately. So instead of this little voice thing that we had going on here, right? Instead of this whole... So instead of that, let's just get rid of that. I would just have that there just for fun. But we're going to go ahead and get rid of it and look at sampling. Now, a couple ways. If you want to bring it in off your USB drive, it's just a shift and gen. Or sorry, no, it's not. This is what I went through last time. What you do is, this is a menu dive. It's not diving. You're going to go over to File, right? Enter, Import, Enter, scroll to User Sample. Because you're importing from the user sample, right? Enter. Now you get to go through all, if you have it right in the top, like all the samples just in the root drive, they're all going to show up here. But I went and I just put them into I made a sample folder. It's not going to make a sample folder on the USB drive when you format it on here. It just does backup and export. But I'm used to having that sample like from the 8S. So I just made a sample on the computer. I made a sample folder. So in there I can put all my samples. What's this one? Oh, it just goes back. It's weird that I have one up above it. Right? So I could go through all these things. These are all my packs or folders or whatever you want to call it, right? So if we go to something like, we'll just, why not Deep Tech House, whatever. And then here's all my things, right? I have bass lines. Something I like to mention, it's been mentioned in some other videos, is if you're going to bring samples in the name of the sample, it's very helpful to have the tempo if it's a loop, okay? If it's some kind of tempo-based loop, have the tempo there because it's going to matter when you load it into here. Also, another good thing to have is always to have the key it's in, so if you're creating something that's in a specific key, you can tune it up to be in the key that it's in. If you want to hear something, and these are always way louder, I'm hoping in an update they give you a wave preview level like in the 707 to where you can turn down previewing stuff, because it's, I'm like way down, right? If you want to do a funky bass, it's nice because you can just sit here and scroll right down and then try them. Some are as they are, right? These are bass lines if you're trying to make a bass line. Or if you're just trying to get a chord sound. That might be a good one. Big W one. Ugh, sensitive knobs. Right? Or there's like complete, I have, you know. Right? Those kind of things. Drum loops. So you can import any of these. Let's just say we're going to import instead of a loop, we're going to import a chord. Okay, we'll just do this long chord. Right? This one. So let's import that. Just simple enter. And then what it's going to ask you to do is what category do you want to put that in? It is a chord sound, so I'm going to scroll all the way down to chord. Okay, there's all kinds of categories. You can't seem to, we'll look on the app, but you can't make a category name in here, like add more categories, but generally it's going to cover almost everything you're trying to put in this thing. So it's a chord. And then it just imports it. Okay, the only thing it doesn't do, which would be nice, is to do that assign an import. So it like import it and assign it right away to this. I haven't seen, it doesn't come up. I haven't seen a way to do that. So that'd be also another nice added feature, because they do it when you sample incoming from the external in. If you want to, and I'll show you that. We're going to do that on on one of these devices here, as long as you don't die. I got the, ooh, sorry, I'm gonna plug this one in. I got some of the compacts here just so we can goof around with those. All right. I gotta plug one in because it's gonna muck it, it's gonna die. Okay. There, that can just charge for now, but I do have, should have some sounds in here. Let's make sure we got sounds coming in. Okay. Okay. So I do have sounds. We'll do that one after. So I've imported something into the voice of this rimshot track. Now I can shift gen and go pick my voice. All right. And I want to go to my bass category, or my chord. And then from here, I could go to, there's all, and you go through analog chords. There's not going to be any because the analog sounds are not chords. ACB, FM, PCM is where you're going to start seeing some of them, the sample base, and then any samples, including the ones you've imported, right? Or user samples, it focuses just on yours. So I got these two. There was this one. That was just like a beat, right? Chord progression. And then this is our chord, long chord. So I can hit enter. And it's in there. Since it's just a single hit, I don't need to really BPM sync or stretch it. So now we could just... Thing you have to remember though is this instrument has been filtered. It's been LFO'd, right? The compressor's not in there, but there's effects, there's a pitch delay on it, so we can turn all this stuff off if you want, bypass. That way we can... Now something you can do is shift and exit, and you can initialize something. So maybe I want to initialize the gen, which is the instrument itself. And that's going to initialize all these parameters in here. So I hit enter and I go to, oh, I'm on rimshot already. And then enter. Okay. And then I could exit out of that. Now, all the, oh, it didn't do that. That's strange. It should have initialized everything. Maybe I misunderstood how it does it. So yeah, now you got kind of a built-in sound, right? You can check your amplitude, the gain's good. It's got a attack and hold on here. We can open that up. Because it's a long one, right? We'll get the... Move our decay up. You can turn your switch off so it doesn't... just plays the whole thing. But if you're looking to do like an amp envelope for it to kind of... Oops, didn't want that to go. Anyway. So rimshot. And then we can look at our regular tuning, coarse tuning. And then you could either place those in wherever you wanted them to be. And then just set each one up. So we're going to need a control for this. Since this is like most of the stuff I've been doing has been in F, we'll do a quick knob assign. We'll take this one. This one's not going to be tuned anymore. It's going to be... Where is it? Oh, that's fine. Here, coarse tune. Okay. So set to coarse tune. Now I can set each one of these to be a 5. And this one will set down to like, we'll do an A. Right? So I could set this and say, I want this one to only happen every second time. Right? Right? Right, so now I've set it so it plays that chord on this one. So instead of this, let's get like a chord progression, I guess, if we will. What's this going to do here? Let's see. Oh, here. Okay, we'll do this. Okay. The nice thing is this is it's the J6 I'm using just for any, it's over here, kind of, I don't know if you can see it there, but I have some of the compacts over here, the TA J6S1 E4. So just a little chord pattern that's played on here, right? So. There, that's okay. So when I hit play on this, it should play it too. So let's just hear it. So it's a 4 measure, right? So I come up here to sample. Okay. Now that I'm sample, it's giving you this sample editor. It looks similar to the 707 and also similar to the 404. So in the sampling recorder, same kind of things are happening. You got the little VU meter. So if I'm playing this, you hear it coming in. I can set my length. Now 64 is probably what I want to do because it's a 4 measure, so I want it to be a perfect loop. Right? The nice thing is I could trigger auto. Now there's different ways. There's manual where you got to hit enter to start and stop the recording. There is inst play where when I hit the in here, because then you're sampling something internally, right? You could inst play that. Or pattern start's a good one because this is synced to it. So if I hit start, it's going to start recording because the J6 is going to play along with it. So that one's good. Or, oops, where was it? Here. Auto. Auto means it waits for the threshold to when it hears a signal or sees a signal, that's when it starts recording. I want to make sure it happens right away, so I'm going to do it right on pattern start. So as soon as I hit start, the J6 fires up, recording happens. Okay, you can see I have 71 hours of sample space left. You know what? You poor guys. You don't need to see my ugly mug. How about this? What a bigger screen. Isn't that better? All right. We have conversations. You can look at me if you want to. But now we got a nice big screen. Okay. So as you can see, 71 hours of space in here. You have 48 gigs. Yeah, I think 48 gigs of sample storage in here. It's a lot. Better than that 500 megabytes of the TR-8S. So let's hit OK. It's waiting to start recording. So it's been completed. So now I can turn my external in down, and now I can copy to hear it. Right? So you have your 4, each chord on each one. So let's take these off because we don't want it to re-trigger every time. The first thing I like to do, you can either turn the scroll knob or hit enter to choose one of these, but you always want to normalize. It normalizes the hell out of this. Now it's much louder. Alright, okay, so we got it. If we're happy with it, we can, there's a few things. You could truncate if you're adjusting start and end point, right? Emphasis kind of brings out the mids a bit more. You want to keep that 0 snap on. That's always an important one to do, right? You want to, you don't want it off because on it's going to, when you do your start and end points, it's going to go to the closest 0 crossing so you don't get any clicks or pops. But here, you could write and assign. So if I hit yeah, then I could go through and choose the category that it's in. Again, if this is chord, enter, I can name it. All right, we're just going to name it really quickly here. Campling. Oh, we'll just, yeah, that works. It doesn't matter. It'll probably get changed anyway. So we'll call it campling. Now we can assign it. Enter. Oh, don't even have to do that. Just turn the knob. So you want the rim shot. Okay, we'll just put it back over this one that we did. Right, and then you just go to execute and enter, and now it's put that on here. So now when I trigger it, hold the step and cycle 1 of 4 because it is a 4 measure loop. That means I only want it to play the first time through when it plays 4 times. Right, so now we get, oh, also we got to bring our tuning back down. I don't think it's held anywhere else. Oh, this one does have. Well, you'll notice if it plays through, you'll hear it drop in that tuning. Okay, so now we should get. We probably have this amp envelope. Now let's just turn this off. We don't want an amp envelope. Now, what you're going to notice with this BPM sync, we recorded it at our tempo, right? Which our tempo is 124. But if I go over here to the right, it says it's a 120. If I set it to 124, it's going to be in time now when I have this BPM sync on. Right? You can do phasing and delay if you want to delay it a few milliseconds or sampling off. It's great when you're layering tracks. So if you have like 2 kicks, so they're not always hitting the same time, you take your second layer and just kind of move the delay off a little bit, and it kind of really thickens up the sound. Yeah, you get 48 gigabytes out of 64. So definitely a whole lot. Okay, Christopher, I've recorded a sample so we can all see. Okay, I've recorded a sample from external in, and I imported samples from the app, but I'm having trouble figuring out how to assign them to a track and slice them. Yeah, not a problem. So doing this is the importing. You saw when I do the sample from external in, it wants me to assign it. So you got to pick that assign before you execute, name it, assign it, give it a category, all that kind of stuff. And then you could put it into the category. Then when you go into your selecting what you want, right, you're going to go whatever category you put it in. If it's in other, if it's in loops, if it's in chord, whatever you put it in, and then go to user samples, and it should be there. And then it's just a matter of fact of just hitting enter to load it into that track. Okay, I don't even think you need to hit enter. You could exit out if it's selected, but I just hit enter to confirm. Okay, and then what we could do, this isn't a great one to chop up, maybe we could chop up some other ones here. Right, so now we got our, I feel like this needs to be brought up a bit. I'll give it an effect here. We give it a nice compressor. Turn it on. It's not even coming in. It's not loud enough. All right. So I would go instead of a filter, because I don't really need a filter on this. It's at the sound I want. If I press enter, I could choose between a filter or an EQ for that sound. So now I could go over to like the mids. Kick up the mids a little. Yeah. Highs up a little, I guess. Oh, the overall gain. And so now you got all your sounds here, right? But watch if I just repeats, right? So if you're hitting multiple steps, you got to remember that it's going to repeat that loop unless you make it play maybe on a different cycle than the one, right? Anyway, So that's that. Let's get over to one that we can kind of maybe chop around a little. I think that's over on D here. We got this. That's a good one. What is it? This one being a top one, we can probably play this. We don't have it in there. Set it to 1 of 2. So now we got that sound okay. Just that top, right? Now you can go and slice if you want to, but if you hit enter, you could go to a auto slice. And when you hit enter on that, it's going to ask you if you want to do it by divisions, time divisions, like steps, right? How many do you want, the time division? By level, which is just picking up like kind of volume levels, and by transients. That's if you want to do the auto slice. Otherwise, it's just going to, if I turn slice on, it just gives me 16 separated slices, which might work because it's a 2 measure, so it's going to be like an every 8th note kind of slice. So to hear it, we hold ins play and go to slice 15. Okay, now we have all our slices. Yeah. Just so you can hear them a bit better. Okay. Not exciting, I know, but it's those 16 slices now, and I could go to instant record and then hit the so it's a boring loop actually. Let's make it a different one. This one? This one might work. Alright, so maybe I want that one. We'll just load that one. Okay, it's a 125. Gotta make sure to always put the BPM to what it needs to be so it loops right? Now if we chop this one, and so you can see all the chops. So maybe this one you wanted to be a little like 14. You want to take in that next slice. I can go over to my select, go to the next one, 15, and then just press clear. It now combines 14 and 15. Maybe I want the last two, so I go again, select the last one, hit clear. Now that's one slice. Right, and I could do this for, oop. Right, select. So maybe this is nothing, right? Let's get this one with the second one. Clear that. Now our first one. Right? Then we go to our next one. Maybe we want these two together. Again, go to the third, clear. So now 2 is, maybe we want it, let's combine all. Right? So now I'm just clearing the next one to kind of add, so I got so now you could take those and go into a record once you find what kind of what you want to play, right? probably go back and get rid of that one. But what if we did something like here, here? What it's doing is it's going to constantly play anything besides these ones that I've designated, like this one. If I go over here, you see it says slice number 6. Right. The weird thing is if I move this, it so weird that as soon as I move it, it jumps, and now the slice is over here. I don't know why it messes around like that, but now it's slice 3. This is slice 6. I could change it, right? Let's make it slice 9. Right? And then that's already 3. That was 6 before. We'll make that one 4. We'll make that one 3 as well. This was already slice 9 to make that 1. And then this one can be slice 1. So now it sounds like 9. Right? And that might sound repetitive, but that's when you just take each of these, go cycle 2 of 2, 1 of 2. We can make this one 4 of 4, so it only plays in the last one. This one can play every time. And this one, let's just make it, 8 of 8. So now it only plays on the 8th time around. So that's how you kind of slice it up. It was, I didn't mean to leave that up there for so long, sorry. Does that help? 46, they're using 16 gigs, so 64 minus 16 is 48, right? I don't know why they'd be using, or am I wrong, 4. It's not 18. Did they say 46? Maybe. So I most definitely could be wrong. So it's your birthday. You're right. All right. So yeah, it's in Gen Select to pick your imported sample that you took from the USB or that you've brought in from the external input. Okay, record a sample from external in, import the samples from the app. Okay, figure out how to send track and then slice them. So that worked out, Chris. Okay, they could be right. So let's take a look at the app now if you guys want to. Okay, mosey on over here, and I just got to do a couple computer things. Whew. After the app, we might do one other thing. We looked at snapshots. I'll try and show you how to set up a morph, and then we'll go ahead and close that one down. Okay. So I want to, first of all, open the app. Okay. Make sure it's connecting. Okay, and then I want to import a screen, right? I want to share a screen. I want to window. This is ready to go. Okay. Let's try this again. Share screen. Window, it doesn't want to give me. Okay, we're just going to do entire screen. So you're just going to have to bear with me on this one. Boop. All right, can you guys see all that? I'll make sure it moves over. How far behind are we on YouTube? I think it's like 20 seconds. Once it goes over, you should be able to see it. Why are we not moving over? Oh, I think I might know why. Stop sharing. Okay. I need to present a screen share. All right, fine. Share. Woo! Okay, there we go. Okay, that's gonna work. Can you guys see this? They still don't let us make it bigger. Whatever. Okay. So this is still version 1. We're looking at it. Hopefully there's enough for you guys to see. So what we have is the basic editor here. Let me turn this off. You have your main tabs: instrument, mixer, and kit. With instrument, if you want to bring in anything, you could choose the instrument here, right? Rim shots, it shows you what's going on each one. Hand clap. Something like the layers, like my high tom. There's an electric piano mid on layer A, and layer B is a perk model. Electric piano A, B, perk model. This is just the name of the instrument. It's telling you what it's in. If you wish to layer something in or import something, you click this little triangle, and then you have this import and assign sample over here at the top of the list. Okay, so you can, just like you would with recording something from external in, you go to import, and then open up your Finder window, right? Get yourself to some, let's get a vocal in there. Paradisco. Let's see what we got here. So we've got different stems, bass stem, claps, drums. Maybe a guitar. Let's hear it. Let's not. Guitar stem 2. I'm trying to keys maybe. Let's get out of there. It's just got too much emptiness. All right. Bass drum, claps, crash, drum loop, bass, drum effects. How about a guitar? Get an amped funk one. It's a little too funky. Okay, so we'll just take this one. Drag it. It's going to do this to me. Should be able to, it's not letting me drag and drop right now. Oh, I see. Okay. You have to have the app highlighted, like I'm going to highlight this and then go to the other one and just find whatever you're going to do, right? Trying to find a. That's fine. You can do multiple files, or you can even go and take an entire folder and drag it up there. So if I was to take something like ambient nature or whatever and drag it, I can have a whole folder bulk import. Okay. I'm not going to go ahead and do that. We don't need to get into that, but you could play it. I don't know if you can hear it. It's just coming through my computer speakers. But once you're happy, you select your category, right? This is kind of a guitar, so maybe scaled. Sure. All right, you can't create a category. And then just import and assign. I've done that. Now on layer B, I have on my high tom track, I have an E piano on one side, and I have, it's going to sound crazy, but let's go over to a Let's do a so I just wanted to all right, so now I've loaded that in. I'm playing it on the 8S, right? Or on the 8S on the 1000. So as you can see, I've thrown it in there. I can go to my layer B to this guitar. I can start doing things like BPM sync it, right? It was a 125, I think. Yeah. So I could go to the BPM, turn to 125. Holding shift will get you smaller. Oh no, it doesn't. It could be tricky here. I would rather just set the BPM on the, it's so much easier. Set it on the machine. Because it's really sensitive on the screen and you can't just click and type it in, unfortunately. Yeah. So there, now it's BPM synced, time stretch it on. Then you got your speed and all that stuff. So you got all your filter, or equalizer, depending on what you're making, right? You got your SB filter and EQ. You got your amp envelope. If you wish to have a transient generator instead for more of that, the percussive stuff, if you're doing melodic stuff, maybe an amp envelope might be nice, but if you're trying to work on the transients, just like a nice, snare hit or your drums, sometimes the transient's going to be better. Your attack and curve, depending on what you're using, right? And this is amp B, it tells you which one you're on. Okay, and then if you have effects, just click instrument effects. This is where the compressor shows up, and the compressor is for both layers. And you have a 4000G compressor, which is a great drum compressor. They're giving you kind of a modeled one. And even in the mixers section, or not the mixer, it's on, what's it on? It's on the, I thought some of the other ones had a different, like the FET compressor, the 1176. That might be your on the master instead of on the individual instruments. And then your effects, whatever you want here, you can choose them all. You got quite a bit, including some fun new ones. The fattener's in there, it's been there before. What's some new ones? Getting a pitch delay. Now everything can have a delay or a pitch delay. I think there's a regular delay too. Yeah. So you don't have to use the kit one on an instrument for a send. You can do it specifically. And then, yeah, all these other ones. Some saturators, isolators, bit crushers, bunch of stuff. Choruses. Okay. So once you've, kind of played with all of your instruments, got them all dialed into where you like them, you can go over to the mixer, which gives you the chance to mix all your tracks together. You also can change colors, right, to whatever color you want it to be. You can rename the kit if you want to. If you're making changes, you can always hit the quick overwrite, which allows you to save your pattern and kit, your effects routing, and your individual output. Effects routing is what we talked about through master, then analog, or just analog. And the individual out allows you to send it out the mix, out an individual output, one of the triggers, both triggers, or one of the triggers. And you have muting, and your delay and reverb send, panning, sidechain depth, and tracking. So a pretty useful little, and then sidechain controls are down here. Okay. And then you also have this mod kit, the LFOs for the kit, right? Those ones that you could target the kit parameters, the delays and your side chains and all that kind of stuff. Because the individual instruments are on the instrument, right? That's where you're, where'd it go? Your LFOs are right here, modulator, per instrument. The one in the mixer, this one down here is for the kit. Okay. You can check out how much sample memory you have left. Remaining slots, I have 102 out of 5 remaining 500. I've filled up some slots and they include samples that are within the project. Remember, you can open up different projects. So 18 slots in the current kit. And the project has 102 remaining. Okay. And what's advanced? It says use 384. Must mean there's 384 samples that Roland, or probably about 370 samples that Roland gave us used for editing locked on the remaining slots. I have to get a little more into that to see what's going on with all that stuff. But those are all things down below. And then your kit. These are all kit settings, like your reverb, what kind of delay, external input settings, common settings like the gain for your kit, any master effects, and the analog effects. Okay, you can't choose what kind of filter type you have. You have different slopes for high pass, low pass, and then you have a 12 decibel slope band pass. Okay. The nice thing is you also get a what would I call, like a filter in gain and then the driving gain, so you could drive it into the filter harder if you want to, or they 100% drove it into the gain. That's what gives it that crunch. But if you were trying to use the gain as kind of a polishing, I would probably back the input off a bit. That way you can turn the gain, or not the gain, but the drive up a bit more to push that drive and not be getting so crunchy and distorted. The routing matrix just lets you quickly, just kind of like how you did with the mixer here with the effects route. Same kind of thing here, just lets you decide what it's going to go through. If you want to bypass master, just click down to analog. All right, pick kits here. Something I don't know, can you, well, it's going to, I didn't overwrite. I just wanted to see if I could drag and drop. Nope. So as you click one, it's going to load each kit. Since I didn't overwrite, it's probably going to put everything back, which is fine. Just wondering if you can, well, you can, when you're in the kit, just go to name it. How are you going to name it? Probably under right kit, I guess. Okay. Yeah, so you can name it. When you go to right kit, you can name it, choose a slot. Okay. These are, I don't know, just telling you about, okay, 1000, it tells you what firmware you're on, if there's an update available, and if it's the same build or not. So it's great, you can update it through the app instead of doing that whole process. You get importing samples, exporting, transferring backups, reload instruments, write the instrument, initialize generator, which I thought about, and then it tells you about the TR app. Just sort of menu things. Setting scale factor. It says it needs a reset. I'm thinking this allows you to make it bigger or smaller, but it says it needs a restart on the app. So should we try it? Let's go to 2. Okay. Close the app out and reopen the app. Whoa, there you go. There you are. So yeah, going to the settings and changing your scale factor will resize it for you. I kind of like that. That's nice and big. Okay, any questions on the app before we shut that down and come back and look at Morph, and then I gotta go to work. So Dave, Master Effects. You want to know more about them? Or you want to see what they are? Master Effects, you have crushers, the filter and drive, which is just like the, it's not the analog because it's digital, but it's just like the SP404. Same thing with the DJ effects looper. You get a scatter. Now the cool thing about that is on the 8S you had a scatter, but you can only like if you held down the trigger, you could adjust the depth, but you couldn't change the type very quickly. Now you get 3 knobs for your master effects, and one can be the type, one is the depth, and one is the balance. So you can mix the scatter so it's not just a hard takeover. You can kind of have it blend with the original sounds. So very cool. And then you could send it through or bypass the analog effects. I mean the analog. Okay, sideband. Oh, here's it is, the master, the FET compressor. It was the original something emitting transistor freak. It's what the 1176 was modeled after, a very, very popular compressor. So if we take this and let's just go ahead and play something through so we can hear it, and then we'll hear it with we'll turn this on. Of course it drops. Got your ratio, release is a little too long there. Really push it in there if we wanted to. Nice thing is you can kind of mix it so you get a nice kind of a sideband compression, right? There, now it's getting a little better there. Mixing it in. And then add this drive. Yeah. So that compared to, I guess not a lot different. That FET's just kind of really getting everything glued together. So it's, take some tweaking and everything. Once you add something like this, you are going to make some changes. And then noise, STD, it's a chorus, nice regular compressor if you want to. And like I said, like stuff like the sideband filter, since you have a balance, you can really, like, it doesn't sound great there, but if you you kind of get that. All right, so you can mix in some of these, which is really cool. All right. Can you resample through the analog effects? Yes. So let's pop that down. We're going to stop sharing real quick and hop back to this. Let's look at that. So we had, and this is what I was going to try here, which can be kind of cool here. So we have Mr. Cowfood is asking if you can resample through analog effects, or is that for main outs only? You can resample. So let's quickly do an overwrite here, because this is something I wanted to try. I'm going to go to pattern select. Okay, let's just pick something that's close to this. I think like this one? Nope. No, not doing. Okay. Let's just say like that one, or I'm really, here, this can be fun. Okay. So let's just say we have this. Let's find one that. So we'll do this. We want to record this. We'll even do Master Effects. They've got that motion recorded. Okay, so maybe we want this right here, okay? That really goes for a while. But we're going to sample. We want to change our input to the mix out. Okay, we could either do that or go to track and just choose the exact tracks we want to mix out. So we'll just do this, okay? Wow. Well, what did I do? God. See, I'm used to shift up here. All right, back to sampling. We're going to do pattern start. We're going to do the input, the mix out, okay? Because then it goes through everything. It hits all the effects. Did it go all the way back to pattern 4.1? Huh? Okay, fine. They're making me work here today. We'll just do this one. So maybe we want this, okay? We got our analog effects on, sample, mix out, pattern start. We're going to make it for, let's just make it for 2 measures, just so you can see we could do it. 32 length. Pattern start is what's going to trigger it. Hit OK. It's going to wait. Okay. We got that saved. We do a quick edit of normalizing. Woo, make it way too loud. And then we're going to write and assign. We're going to keep it in category of perk loop, okay? We'll get it just for the sake of it. There. It doesn't matter. It doesn't at the moment. We're not going to assign it to anything, okay? We're just going to save it, right? Bam, saved. I just saved the mix out of all this. Now, let's go back to my pattern, okay? So now we got, right. We'll go down to this one, just a basic one. And instead of this guitar sound that we had going, right, we'll get rid of this. Shift Gen, or just hitting enter when it's on that, just so you can see. If it's on here and it shows a guitar, anytime you hit enter, you're going to open that little triangle for the menu. So it's going to take you to choosing. We're going to go to loop perk. We're going to go to samples, loop samples, user samples, there. Then we called it this weird one, right? So I've just taken another pattern, took out what I wanted from it, sampled it, and then I put it over here. Oh, something I don't. Thing I didn't recognize was the tempo that thing was at. So just quick overwrite. Just got to go to enter 126. Okay. So now I could go to this, go to my tempo 126. That way it stays in time with everything, right? But it's repeating, you see, because I got to go and set this to 1 of 2. So that, Mr. Cowfood, is how you would sample. You're going to sample the mix out because you want it to capture anything up here, right? So if these are active, your master effects and the analog effects, You can sample anything you want, turn down the tracks you don't want to hear, or I think that's the best way to do it. Instead of just selecting tracks, I just turn down and then set it to pattern start for recording. And that way when you hit start, it does a perfect recording. And you set it for the length you need it to be. Okay. Don't worry about it, the anti-pewter. I am making and I'm compiling them now, little 2 to 4 minute tutorial videos on everything. This is just kind of an exploration as we're going through kind of the first, I'm calling it the first 48 hours with it. Just we'll keep doing these episodes and keep going through, having people ask questions and want to know more about it. And as we learn more things, we can develop more things about it. So don't worry about it. I know these 2+ hour videos can be a lot to sit through, but this is just really for people that want to kind of hang out and hear what I have to say about it. But don't worry, by this weekend, I will be putting out very short tutorial videos talking about each of these functions and some of the features and the how-tos and stuff. So, okay. So I do appreciate you hanging out and listening. If you do have questions, feel free to ask. Okay. Yeah. So that's my specialty, is I like the short tutorial videos because no one wants to sit here and listen to me for 2+ hours. Not everyone. So some people just want to get some details and then move on. Was there something specific, anti-pewter, that you wanted to know a little bit about? Do you have one? Who here has one? Anybody have one? While I'm waiting for that, let's look at Morphs. So we kind of got this going, right? You're going to want to set some things up for Morphs to make sure that it works properly for what you want it to do. Right? Come over here. I think no sign. That's my decay. Was it this one? Course. Okay. Decay. And delay send. So I think that's what I was doing on this one. So this one is just this sound, right? Oh, it's not. So with this one, maybe I want to, this won't make too much sense, I guess. Okay, so let's try and figure out a few things. First, for morph to happen, you need to shift the morph. Not yet, Dave. Yeah. I want the machine. Nice. Is there an easy way to copy and paste single steps that you may have parameter locks or modulation on? The parameter locks and everything happen. Let's get out of this one first. So when you have exit there. So if you have any kind of modulation, like if you're to take this and say I want 0 delay send, right? And then over here just I want more delay send. I can do that. The steps don't have to be active. There's no copying a step because there's no function to do that. I can't copy a step. I could copy a pattern with the kit, just the kit. I could copy a whole variation. I could copy the track and the instrument, which means I'm going to copy the sequencing and what it is to another track. So it's not just copying like one of the steps. You could copy instruments, which are the sounds. You can copy a layer on a layer track and everything that goes with it. You could copy morphs and snapshots and samples and songs. Okay, but it doesn't let you copy a step. So if you have some modulation going on a step, generally you'd go to the next one and apply the same modulation. But I understand that as you get going, you start discovering you want to tweak something or maybe add something a little later. There's no way. The only thing I'd say is hold the step, see what you've done to it, go to that next step and apply the same changes. Or the way these work is different than the electron P locks, because this is, think of it as instead of a P lock saying that this trigger something's happening, it's its own lane of automation, because I could do all the automation over here. So like this, that's a, you know, we have this with the tune. I could say the tune is 0. And then if right here on the next one, I can make it go up 4 semitones. That one note, you notice it went up. It didn't re-trigger the sounds. It's just moving, because I could do, you know, that, 2 over here, up an octave. Right? And it's going to hold it. The last value I put in there, right? The last value I adjust it to is going to hold. Okay? That's what it does, is it adjusts the value and keeps it. Because if you think of it in like a DAW, like automation, when you adjust, say, the volume of something, you're not doing it just for that moment. You're actually adjusting it and keeping it there till you tell it to change again. Right? No problem, Luis. I understand. You could catch the replay after, and try and do them at different times of the day too. So. Yeah, there's a lot of details in this. So something that's really formulated was that deep dive. He goes into a lot of this stuff, but again, that's long. So these short ones will help you with all the details of the machine. Fabio is asking, this one. Are the track panel knobs for instruments always pre-assigned, or do you always need to do this first manually? And are the assignments saved to the instruments? Everything's saved to the instrument. The assignments are part of it. Now, some of these I don't think I changed. Like I don't think I messed with this one. So if I come over here and, yeah, there's nothing on these. Right, for these knob assignments. This is just tune, decay. So they do, this looks like a delay send. If I come over to another one that I might not have messed with, coarse tuning there, decay. So it seems that one's mixed. Decay, tune, okay. Decay, and nothing. So generally the control knobs will not be assigned, but by default, tune and decay are pre-assigned. Okay. So you do get some pre-assignment immediately going, especially like layer tracks. This one's going to be it's an offset for decay, so both layers decay is happening. Because it's a layer track, so it's going to want to control both decays of both layers. If you want to split that, you could say just Gen A decay, and then this one would be Gen B decay if you wanted to. So you can have each layer have its own decay amount. Same thing with the tune. This one's just an offset of tuning for both instruments. No assignments. This is always a mix. Mix knob, mix knob, mix knob, these ones. Okay. And control 3, nothing. So most of the layer tracks just usually have the tune, decay, and mix assigned, and everything else is free for you to assign. Like with the drum. Got to take that decay down, and then I can just have the 909. And then bring in the extra. Right, so they have some pre-assignment, but they really encourage you to assign it yourself and get some things in there that you're going to play with, because that's what they want you to do, is assign this stuff to things that will, see what we have here. We have coarse tune, decay for both, A/B mix, and delay send. So let's try and play around with this a bit, because the morph can be a little tricky. So shift and morph gets you into editing a morph, and you pick the morph slot. You get 16 morph slots per pattern. Okay, or I think it saves with a kit, because it's not a pattern thing, it's affecting the controls. So it's a kit thing. So when you're in the edit mode, everything happens with the C knob. So you got to go to each of your instruments, and like this one, say maybe I want this one just to start pitching up, right? And the decay opens up on that one. And then say on our bass drum, our decay goes almost to nothing, right? And the mix jumps all the way over to just the 909 kick. This is all part of Morph 1, okay, that we're doing the editing for. Now, if I wanted to adjust anything up here, I have to hit the step button up here. Now I can adjust these. So maybe I want my analog effect to be on and cutoff to be at 50% because that seems to be a good one, right? And if I wanted to adjust the drive, I could, or whatever I want to do. And same thing with my master effect. If I wanted the master effect on, if I wanted to turn my delay level, oh, sorry, I'm not doing it right. I got to go through these. So reverb, if I want to turn the reverb on, some massive time. You can't use the knobs unless you go into all knob mode. I keep forgetting that. Now, turn my delay up, some feedback up, and the master effects, we won't do anything in that one. Filter to 50. I got to turn this off and down, or keep it on. Then if I wanted to apply any drive, I could. So if I wanted to, like, as I bring it up, it just increases the drive. So now that I've made that and assigned that morph, I can exit out, play. Right? And you could do, every morph can be a different one. Shift morph and lets you go to a different one to choose, and then you can activate that morph. So I could do a high pass one, then redo it. So maybe there's a low pass filter here, and I could do that. Right? I can't change this filter per morph. It's what it is. It's just going to affect the knobs or what's currently here, but I could put a filter on the master effects if I want, or have a filter cutoff knob assigned to one of these, and then just turn that to where I want it to go to in the morph, and then when I come back, it takes the filter back open. Okay. Yeah. So tactical MIDI, like I was saying, kind of the parameter locking, say on the bass drum, this one I just want my decay to be pretty far down, right? Same thing with this one, we'll make it far down, and this one will open. Now, I don't have to change any of this because everything that goes after is going to be open. But let's say right back on the end one, I want to crank it back down. So let's hear how that sounds. One last thing I like to show is, you notice how a lot of people sit there with their faders kind of doing all this? What I do is I come over here. I want this one down. That one down. I think there's some sequence. Yeah. You want to go with whatever sequence, of course. If this is my mix, like I'm like, okay, this all sounds right where I want it mixed. If I shift effects into the mixer mode and move over to the second page and hit enter, I get this mixer mode, and whatever I've set my levels at here, because that's where I like it all to sound, I can hit enter and reflect to gain, and it reflects the slider position to the gain level. So these will all be at their top. These are all going to come down in gain when I okay. Here they all went way down, right? Now when I turn these up, they're at that level that I just previously mixed them at. It's a great feature, that reflecting to gain, because then you get to play with faders all the way up and you know everything's going to be mixed right, and you won't have to do a lot of this kind of stuff. Right? At least it helps in performance. And we're going to stop there. It's been many, many hours. I don't know what, too many hours. Okay. I appreciate all you guys joining me on this fun little exploration. Let me get back my face now. Okay. And going through this, I appreciate all the questions, and a big happy birthday to Dave. Thanks for joining on your birthday when I know I'm sure you got stuff planned. So be sure to tell the family you want one of these for your birthday. So thanks for, like I said, thanks for joining me, walking through this and asking the questions that you want to know. That's really what I'm just doing this one for. And stay tuned for short tutorials on all the stuff that are a little more focused so you can get the information you need and then move on to creating or doing what you're doing. Okay. Is there any last questions before we go? Comments, anything like that? Shows we got 23 people watching. Oh, they're leaving. All right. Anyway, I think that's about it for you guys. Give it one last overwrite. And we're good. Maybe in the next one we'll talk a bit more about song mode and editing songs and things like that. And what VariChain can do. We'll get into last steps and sub steps and all that kind of stuff. I feel a lot of that's just kind of redundant stuff that was on previous, but we never know. Anyway, thanks guys. I'll see you soon, okay?